Hello, I'm your host, Kayla, and this is Spectra Story Time. Today's story is called The Dreadwood. Like all the tall tales on this channel, this story comes from my unpublished short story collection, Spectra. I hope you enjoy. Now, shall we begin? The Dreadwood. They say within the Dreadwood lies a well, and if you howl into its hollow heart, mud water rushes to devour the empty chamber. When you drink from its scaly waters, it starves your darkest memories until they are scabby with mold. Bloated with death, they make love to the quiet, and you weep with joy because it is over. While the Dreadwood's magic writhes inside you, it takes something else back with it. For the lucky ones, it is their sight, or sound, or their sanity. For the others, it hurts to say, but always, always the price paid is a heavy one. There is no release. No screams nor moans of any kind escape you, for in the Dreadwood, there is only silence, a great mucky scuff where sound should be. It bleeds through the ears first, hooks deep into the flesh, then the blood, then the bone. Some say the forest is a god's curse, others an immortal blight made to punish humanity for its sinful nature. The scrapping winds who dare not brush its shores say the Dreadwood was not always a forest, but an eruption of grief so awful it could not be contained by mere flesh or a single body. From moth-worn earth burst a tree followed by many. In this the Dreadwood came to be, a manifestation of misery. Other useless rumors lurk by the hearth, pleading for confirmation. The sun swears he saw a mole drag the world from its hole. He says the Dreadwood had slithered alongside everybody else and settled down just the same as the rivers and the mountains and the canyons and all the other permanent monuments. But you mustn't listen to the sun's tall tales. He is a bright, pretty thing, and bright, pretty things are never to be trusted. It does not matter how or why the Dreadwood came to be. I only ask that you remember its name so that you know not to speak it. Once it kisses your lips, you cannot resist it, a fate worse than death, for you must never go there. Once there was a boy of an unremarkable nature. He was christened Samwell Logan of the Caned Isles. Boys with two first names are often the first to go missing. He came to the Dreadwood looking for the well. He found something much worse. At first, he wandered aimlessly. There were no maps of the forest, for there was no one to draw them, and with no other choice available, he shuffled about every which way his flat feet would take him. As he wandered, the light neither brightened nor dimmed, but remained. Always the light remained, as did the cold, the kind of cold that petrifies softness and strains the sky a noxious yellow plume. Leaves had perished to dust long ago in this light, and there were no signs of life beside the trees and the occasional husk of a large insect that crunched underfoot. Though it never rained there, the ground was wet and squirmed in places. It sucked at his shoes, making each step a struggle. Samuel paid no mind to this. There was only the feeling of days folding into one another. How many exactly, he was unsure. All that he knew was that somewhere amongst the glade, his neck had begun to harbor a permanent ache from twisting about at odd angles, determined to look, to see, to find it. But now he had forgotten what he'd come looking for, and considered that the ache had always been there, the chapped hands and lips and acrid hunger that he'd just been resolved not to feel it. The more he walked, the harder it became to remember whether his memories belonged to himself or someone else. Like them, he wandered and wondered until he had all but smudged away, like falling asleep, only terrible. Perhaps it was the loneliness that unstitched him. After all, those who dwell in the forest are never seen. The absence seeds the kind of lonely that crowds the senses, till all that you are is all that you resent because you will never be enough. The reflection of your own face becomes a night terror, and the soggy leaves that mat the ground tempt you with their scent of decay. Yes, while nightshade cloaks the forest's breath, it is the loneliness that seeds the rot. Whatever the case, there was no knowing what was anymore. Then the boy appeared, and even that was untrue. Who are you? For the first time since entering the Dreadwood, Samwell was no longer alone. He'd forgotten about language, about sound, so scathing was the hush of the wood. He could hardly recognize the collapsing symbols as his own. Who? But there it was again, impalpable as mist, but unmistakably his voice all the same, even if it was in his own head. Who are you? What he saw was more than a boy. The makeshift lines holding him together were not lines at all. His presence extended far beyond the parameters of his silhouette, his stance furrowed and ravenous. Twig arms splayed out as if to catch something, eyes like dead grass on the verge of sinking into the bloated purple bloom beneath them. Hair, the split end of the summer, he should have been plain, dull, flaxen as he was. He should have been. There was something familiar about the boy, and not at all comfortingly so. Worse still, he looked at Samwell as if he knew something, and it was important. It could hurt him. Whatever it was, he knew there would be no coming back from it. The more he stared at the boy, the more he was sure that he knew him. But from where? The corner of his eye? The bridge of his nose, perhaps? Always nearby, but not quite within sight. And then at last, the dream of his life became concrete again, and he understood. Samwell was staring at himself. The boy wearing his face cobwebbed a blurry imitation of a smile, as if he understood. The expression was slanted wrong, all gums and nose and desert fire. Then he turned, dragging, but with purpose. He made no gesture to indicate his intentions, but Samwell understood that he was meant to follow him. For a moment, Samwell considered staying, but then the unmaking nipped at his neck, a bitter reminder that anything was better, even the terror scratching along his insides, than being lost and alone in the wood again. Samwell followed the boy deeper into the thicket of trees. He tried his best to remain vigilant, combing his eyes through the tree line for any hints of movement. His shadow self did not strike him as dangerous exactly, but there was something not right there. The only other presence he could sense was the trees. He'd never seen anything like them before, utterly bare, save for the brittle peeling bark strained along their winding trunks. In the milky light, their skeletal silhouettes should have crowded the landscape black, but alas, even color had abandoned them, all but the ailing gray hanging like a mourner's veil where it touched them. As Samwell and his double crept further into the trees, the scenery ceased to change. The same withered trees he'd haunted only minutes ago pressed against him from all sides, as if to mock him. Samwell's chest tightened, resisting the urge to panic. Is this an illusion? He asked himself. Perhaps this is a part of its power. And then it struck him. I was looking for something. Just as soon as the thought appeared, the object of his desires made itself known, as if the Dreadwood had been waiting all this time for him to call out and ask. The well. It appeared exactly as he had imagined. The earth surrounding its cobblestone base was barren and cracked, yet the well itself was quite pretty. A tangle of flowers, morning glories, they devoured the wooden planks that made up the roof in an explosion of violet and ivory. The sudden arrival of color was like a rash on the landscape, the feeling like a burn or a welt, and he cowered away, disgusted. Their fragrance was sickly sweet, and he doubled over by the sudden urge to vomit. No such release could be granted. The nausea gradually subsided, and his eyes and body adjusted. He moved towards the well. He walked its perimeter, inspecting it from a safe distance as one would a wild animal. The longer he looked, the more he was sure that something was watching him back. His double seemed to understand this too. He did not stand beside the well, but lingered a few feet in front of it, with his hands cemented to his sides, almost subservient. Samuel was afraid, but he was clever too, clever enough to know that his fear was temporary and that the agony he'd carried into the Dreadwood was everlasting, because now he remembered why he had come, why he'd risked death for the chance at oblivion. I can't change who I am, but I can make myself forget. Samuel took a step forward. The well seemed to grow in size with each step. The smooth stones that made up its base and the wooden planks that canopied its yawning cavity stood immobile. Yet Samuel was sure the well was expanding. Before he knew it, he was staring into the void, an emptiness wide enough to swallow even his grief. The feeling of the sea, of the ravenous waves and its cackling winds was present. Samuel laid his hands upon the mouth of that great black empty and howled. Only there was nothing. No sound, no stone, just his face, grinning back at him. His double had replaced the well, and his neck was cold where Samuel's hands now gripped it. Though he had not put them there himself, he did not remove them. Samuel began to squeeze the boy's neck, gently at first, as if he meant to eventually pull away. As the soft flesh beneath him began to strain against his grip, the stronger the need to press harder became, until he was choking the boy violently in retribution. He dug his nails deep enough to break the papery skin, as if he could gouge out the memories with the sheer force of his will. Then came that voice again, strained and gravelly like it had been dragged over by a rake. She was going to tell. His double's neck grew warm in his hands. Tell what? What we did to her. What who did to her? His breaths came in rasps and his fingers strained against him. It wasn't my fault. Whose was it? She was going to tell. The dead talk. The dead remember. The double did not stop grinning. Even as his eyes began to bulge and poppy, it only made Samuel's grip tighter and tighter still until his double fell down dead. Except it was not he who collapsed, but Samuel. His hands went limp where they clutched his own neck. This time, Samuel met the unbecoming like an old friend, fading into the absence of himself without resistance, without cause, without. And all the while, the Dreadwood watched from its crouching corners as yet another visitor succumbed to the quiet. That concludes the Dreadwood. If you'd like to hear more stories from the world of Spectra, please like and subscribe. Bye!